gentlemen, welcome back to Biashara Tuesday. We are glad that you are patient enough to follow through the show all the way. But if you're joining us for the first time also, do let us know where you're watching us from. It is 8:46 in the morning. We've been here since 7 a.m. A whole team to prepare for you Biashara Tuesday. I'll be telling you who's behind the scenes later on, so that's something that you can look forward to. We're going to unmask the people who bring this amazing show for you Monday and Tuesday. But now, this is a newspaper review section. I have with me the three main papers of the day: the Business Daily, the Daily Nation, and the Standard. So here, let me just go through the headlines, and then I'm going to let you know who's joining me here for a very wholesome and roundtable discussion on the headlines and the developments of the day. Let's start with the Business Daily, because this is a business show. The Business Daily on the front has prioritized these banks which are now tapping in. So it says banks tap 54 billion Kenyan shillings from CBK support on liquidity crisis. Banks tap 54 billion Kenyan shillings CBK support on liquidity crisis. This is a fund that supports lenders which have been hurt by the cash crisis. At least 3 banks have breached their liquidity ratios, and the Business Daily is saying that banks are tapping 54 billion, which is support from the CBK on their liquidity crisis. The Daily Nation, the headline there: NMS ghosts come for Uhuru's allies. The former President Uhuru Kenyatta, making headlines here. Is it 2028 already? Former President Uhuru Kenyatta here making headlines. The NMS ghosts come for Uhuru's allies. House team calls for a forensic audit of the Nairobi Metropolitan Services operations amid questions over the tendering for city hospitals after the Auditor General flags several irregularities in her 2021-2022 report. And then finally, the Standard: land evictions, blood, sweat, lies, ... That's the headline on the Standard. Land evictions, blood, sweat, lies, and Nidondo. So, in spite of government promising peaceful resettlements and not forceful reclamation of public land, we've witnessed the events at Mavoko point to a change of mind and heart. So the question here is, what informs the recent orders? Land evictions, blood, sweat, and lies. That's what the headlines like on the Standard. Today, I'm back with a panel, and it is Ruth and Kimani who are joining me here. Last week we had Dennis Omondi and Mwadime Mwangi for a round table discussion like this one. So, good morning to you. How are you guys doing?
We are fine.
Right? Let me start with Ruth. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Richard.
Yes. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's great to be here.
Yes. How's your morning?
My morning is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a beautiful Tuesday
Baridi
morning.
kusumbui?
Fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Not our portion.
Kazi ni moto.
Not our portion.
Right. Kimani, welcome back, man.
Thank you very much.
President Emeritus,
TVET Student Association,
right.
Chair, Kiambu Youth Council, and co-founder, that is Kiambu Youth Council, a student leader, a patriot. I am for the truth, no matter what it is for or against, because I'm a Kenyan.
Right. You're in all green, I noticed. We had an earlier discussion with the chairman of the Youth Green Society, so it's interesting to see you also all dressed up in green.
He should make me the brand ambassador of his organization,
right?
Because I think I'm best suited to represent the organization's interest.
Yes,
even in my dress code.
Yes, he was also draped in green. So Dennis Kimani, the YJ, you're also called Kimani. So
the coincidence.
I mean, this is a match made in City Park. You know. Right, let's get into the headlines. Kimani and Ruth, which is, first of all, you are in the newsroom, which means you've been, going through editorial meetings and everything to do with headlines. And Kimani Wachira has been with me here a couple of times. Which editor really did it today from the Business Daily, the Daily Nation, and the Standard?
Well, I think I'd go with the standard. It tells of a story just by looking at the headline. Land evictions, blood, sweat, and lies. Like literally, that's what is happening
in the land. Like the three most important.
The three
details.
most important: blood, sweat, lies. Yeah, because if you dive into the stories, you will see how much people are crying.
Right.
Those evictions are not a joke. They are there. Yeah, I think the standard for me did it.
Right, Kimani. Standard also, or
I'll go with the standard, but I'll say that the three editors who made the headlines were a bit crazy.
oh, really?
I have a better one.
Let us know. What's the better headline?
The broken promises. Fuel, rand, and unga promise. Because we are from a weekend where the price of fuel was raised. We are from a weekend where unga, the prices are going to be raised again because of the cost of fuel. We were promised that this government is going to be humane, quoting the president, speaking in Madare, that they are going to be humane and they are going to have winners take it home when it comes to rand. All those promises have been broken within the weekend and yesterday.
Right.
So if I was in one of the editorial room, I would have gone with that as the headline.
Broken promises, land, fuel, and unga. Land, fuel, unga. And then you leave it at that. Okay, so next week ama kesho yule anashughulikia headlines afanye hivyo on the standard. But wamesema the Daily Nation, the Business Daily, they're the back of the class, yeah? Those do not qualify. The headlines are not so appealing.
Well,
NMS ghosts come for Uhuru's allies.
Well, the nation tried because it's been long since we had anything about our Jaden.
Yes.
It's been quite a while.
Right.
So it's catchy, but I still give it to the standard.
Okay. The Business Daily is talking about business. As always, banks are going bankrupt. Funny. But now they're tapping into 54 billion Kenyan shillings from the CBK. I'll get to that a bit later. Let's begin with the story that has won the headlines, which is the standard: land evictions, blood, sweat, and lies. So here, in spite of government promises for peaceful resettlement and not forceful reclamation of public land, the events at Mavoko point to a change of mind and heart. What informs the recent orders? Page 4 and 5 of the standard is what is carrying this story. Athi River homeowners who did not know that their land was disputed. So a conversation that is rocking the nation. One, people didn't know this land was grabbed, but also what is the ethical implication on the side of, the East Africa Portland Cements Company, but also the government. This demolition is affecting households, it's affecting schools, it's affecting public institutions. I saw pastors and bishops crying, kids who are supposed to go to school today and actually begin exams. I think it's one of the grades which are supposed to sit for their final exams starting today. They cannot be able to do that. Their schools have been demolished. People have lost their homes worth millions of Kenyan shillings, and they didn't know. They didn't know.
And the most painful part of this is it's also quoted in the nation. And most of the houses that have been demolished, owners say that wamechukua na loan. These are loans you're taking. Others have used their pension to try and build a retirement home where ushamaliza kazi, umeretire pale at 60. What you expect is to live peacefully. And then you wake up one morning, it's either utoe vitu nje ama we are demolishing with the whole thing. So it's so painful that they did not also know. Because it's also quoted up that the organization that was giving this, it's quoted, but it's not quoted. So for me, as a person going to look for land, if you show me the title deed, it's okay, I own the land.
Right.
But now when you come to tell me that it's quoted, but it's not quoted, I won't understand. And I expect the government at least to give me some compensation because I have the title deed, I have the documents, this is how I acquired this land. Now I don't care about the beef you guys have out there, but this is me. What am I going to get? I have a 4.5 billion loan, a 4.5 million loan. What am I going to do?
Right.
Nitalipaje?
They're quoting here, and I just want to know where exactly the problem is then. Here, there's one Catherine Njeri. Her properties are valued worth 4 million Kenyan shillings, and those have gone down. So she's quoted in the Standard saying, when I bought this land 4 years ago, I was given a copy of the mother's title, of the mother title. So that is the mother of all titles, the title deed, right? Yeah. When I searched at the Ministry of Lands in Machakos, aliipata. It bore the name of Aimi Ma Lukenya Society. Now it's a mystery that now the details which are coming out of this is that the land belongs to a cement factory. So if you do a land purchase in Kenya, you're told, please make sure you're doing a search within the Ministry of Land. But then you do a search in the Ministry of Land, and whoever is selling you, if Kimani is selling land to me, and I search the Ministry of Land and find it's Kimani, I'm confident. But then 4 years later, Ruth comes through and says, hey, Kimani grabbed this land. So what do I do with this kind of information going forward if I'm trying to purchase land? Kimani, where is the problem at? Title deals or title deeds?
I think we are having a nation that is led by dealership. This is a political problem. Few days ago, the president made a decree that he wants land. His appetite for land is questionable. He said that he wants land to expand EPZ to create employment. We have demolished houses. We are rendering people who used to work in those mansionates, wasichana wa kazi, wa mama mboga wenye wanauza mboga kule, jobless, to create more land for EPZ. I'm an engineer. I know for you to construct a house in Kenya, the moment you just start digging trenches, kanjos are there. When I say kanjo, I mean the state department of, the county department of housing will come asking, do you have approvals? For you to get those approvals, you need to provide the title. In this case, they didn't have the title, but they had a share certificate and the mother title. I understand. I may not be a lawyer, but I understand. Anytime there is a case in court that involves land, that title is when you do the search, you get it is questionable. There is a way that these evictions and demolition by the government exposes the rots in the system. Because if these people who purchased did due diligence and found that these lands and all these properties, this land is has no issues, they started constructing. They paid for land rates before constructing. They were given approvals by the county. NEMA came. For you to connect that house with electricity, you have to produce another copy of the title deed. All those processes were done. Some of the houses are connected with sewer. This sewer is done by the county department of planning. What we are saying is this is exposing the rot in the entire system.
Right.
And unless I hear that we have made arrests and prosecutions of everybody involved, it remains to be a broken promise by the Ruto's government.
Right.
To add on that,
all right,
this case was concluded on October 9th. Remember, the judgment was given on October 9th. People did not know that there was a case in court. You come and evict them on a Friday evening.
4 days later.
On a Friday evening. So that these people cannot go to courts asking for orders to stop this demolition.
During the weekend.
So I want to first call on the opposition, because they have not made any strong statement, as Ruto did 2 years ago when 5,000 people were evicted in Kariobangi. I remember on top of the car in Mathare saying, and I will not quote, I will just read as quoted in the government. He was now seeking for votes. We want to make it sure that we are an orderly and human society that respects rights of everybody regardless of who they are and their financial status. He continues, my government will work with you so that we can have a win-win settlement where nobody loses their property or their homes.
Right.
He said. That is what Ruto said, that he's going to work on a win-win situation. My question is, what is the win-win situation for the 150 students that were demolished? The school was demolished.
250.
150 were supposed to do an exam in one of the institutions. So what is their fate? And a nation that fails to invest in its youth is a nation that is destined to fail. These are the future of this nation. These students, which which nation demolishes churches despite riding on one of your campaign promise was sisi ni watu wa kanisa, sisi tu ni watu wa Mungu, hatutakuwa kama ile serikali nyingine. Maybe to conclude this,
right, okay,
you look at it this way: where are these demolitions happening? In whose background? As I said when I begin, this is a political problem.
Okay.
Because even the timing on a Friday evening, so that nobody can go to take court orders, the government needs to wake up, apologize to Kenyans, and also come up with a compensation plan that is going to compensate the billions of property losts and also prosecute.
Right. A woman is wailing here on page 4 of the Standard, a very sad scene of a woman wailing right in front of her house, which is being demolished in the background. A very sad scene to take a look at there. A U-turn on demolition, as Kimani has said there was a promise by President and Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. There's going to be a very human approach when it comes to evictions and, reallocation of land. This is a historical injustice, Ruth, that, maybe predates all the way back to colonial times. We won the we won independence in 1963, and the land that the white settlers had taken suddenly belonged to only a few people after the whole country participated in, trying to deliver us from colonial rule. Will we ever get to a point where there's justice when it comes to matters of land, Ruth?
I don't think so. It's the future for land freedom is bleak in this country, because if you take a look at the situation we have in the river and also the one we had in Kariobangi, when these demolitions are done, one thing is always quoted: here are my documents, here are my papers, the county came to my place before Nijenge, everyone I needed came, when I wanted to build, everyone I needed came, but then again you're evicting. So it's like land is one thing that pokes holes in our governments, like in every day. So for us to get there, I don't think we have a long way to go.
We have a long way to go.
We have a long way to go, and we have to start by not lying too much, because the list of lies is getting too long. The list of lies is getting exhausting. If you're going to lie, at least lie to us not on camera. Lie to us mahali tukuni penye tutachukua video tuweke TikTok tuseme you told us this.
Yes.
So when it comes to land, I think this is something that should start from pale chini. Where did the rain start beating us? How do we come with all this? If asked, I'm not pointing fingers, but I think this problem starts huko ndani kwa ministry. You guys are the ones allocating land. Why are you allocating land to two people? In most cases inakuanga you are allocating land you are allocating a land that has a case,
right, or land that already has a title deed also. It's like there are duplicate title deeds.
It's like there are duplicate title deeds, and when my government does that, we are even going to fear to buy lands.
That's exactly where I'm at this point.
We are going to fear to buy lands. We are going to opt for affordable housing. We'll just be paying and not not afraid that one day I'll wake up in a weekend without notice and people are just going to demolish my house.
Right.
Or maybe they cut you short, or maybe that is the government strategy. You can continue.
Yes, so that they have enough to grab. Yeah?
Might be.
Allegedly.
And in the nation, there's a woman who says that she has lost 18 million.
Wow.
Worth of money from that demolition, and her house was not even a year old. The house was just turning 7 months
very
old.
Sad. That's very sad. Absolutely.
It's so sad, and it's very sad that I did see that a few leaders from Machakos and from the Kamba community have tried to speak, say that they are being denied to take food serves to people who have been affected. I don't know, they are being denied to. You guys, I just have one question.
This is crazy.
Whenever we go demonstrating high cost of living, why is this one not being given any importance?
Any priority, right?
Because people are going. I'm an education reporter, so this one is affecting the education. Guys are supposed to be sitting for their KPSEA exams,
right?
Starting this week. And then I just don't get it.
Right.
I just don't get
the church here, which was demolished, that has a school as well with more than 250 pupils. They will miss the examinations, which are supposed to begin today, right? So that is happening there, and the complainants are saying they were unable to serve court papers, as Kimani also said there. Of course, declined the court. The court has no goodwill.
Even if they give a court order right now to stop the demolition, I don't think it's going to do any much. It's only going to help a few people who are lucky to have not been caught up.
Imagine you acquired a title deed in 1980.
And then in 2023,
that's a long time.
Maybe that's why I say this is a political question. Well, if the government had goodwill, it would have focused on giving eviction notice.
Exactly.
In the entire story, we have not read that an eviction notice was issued. As I said, and I take this blame to the president himself. He knew what he was doing, and that's why he dashed to China. He knew the problems he's creating. On Friday evening, he sends NYS and police GSU to guard those government properties that were demolishing. He knew that no one will rush to courts. And remember, we had a vitu ni tatu, mambo ni matatu declaration.
And remember, it's being trademarked, so tread carefully. Hapo unaweza pursue for copyright.
We must speak true to power,
right?
And we must not be afraid of anything, because the future's stake is at stake. When we have a president who makes a declaration that I want this land, and now we see tractors, and in the previous government we had that green excavator that was popular, but they didn't bring it. They bring many. Start evicting people at night. We have people who are taking medications and relies on the refrigerators in their house to store their medicine.
Just to cut you short a little, he mentioned something earlier about the appetite of acquiring land being enormous, being huge. And I remember an instance, I think it was last week, where the president himself said that if you've not used your land for 10 years, we are going to reacquire that land. So my question is,
it's a ridiculous statement. Is this part of
Is this part of what he was talking about?
To know that the market is actually really, really brutal. The East African Portland Cement real-time stock port ilipanda. So that's what I was trying to find here. After the demolitions, yani market haijali. Kuna wale watu walikuwa wamebet, ishapanda, pesa yao imeingia.
They're buying more shares. And maybe to add another question. And what is the difference between this land and Western land? A hotel, a land that was grabbed from Kenya Airport Authority's land. A hostel was built, and we have people on camera declaring and saying that yes, things happened. We can negotiate and pay for this parcel of land.
Right.
My question is, what is the difference between Western land and this land where we have seen excavators sent to demolish, and we have not seen excavators sent to demolish that hotel?
Right.
My other question is, this is not the only land in dispute in the nation. Why this place? Why Machakos? Why Ukambani area? And I remember a few weeks ago, there was a declaration that by the president that we are going to be facing Ruto, and we are going to plan. We are going to be. My opponent might be Karonzo. He had said that a few weeks ago, and he said that he's going to plan. I'm ending it up there.
Oh, food for thought. I was actually going to bring up a tweet by the speaker, the current speaker, Wetangula, from 2015. Where he was trying to ask people to head to Weston. I've just been scrolling, see party, but nikipata I'll bring it up later. But that's what you can find on page 4 and 5. Is it there somewhere on the Daily Nation?
Yeah, it's on page 2 of the Nation. Okay. And here they're just speaking about unpaid loans, lost savings. Here is where you would find, if you guys check that story, here is where you'd find people crying. We took loans to build this. Someone literally said that I took a loan from my circle to build this for me and my children. Someone used his whole pension to build himself a retirement home. So on page 2 of the Daily Nation, people are crying.
Imagine working for 60 or 70 years. You built up, umesave. Kama kutoka sasa hivi mimi najidanganya na save. I save to invest. on my retirement. Nikifika 65, nimejenga my palatial home, nimerelax, I have my title deed. Alafu nasikia tractor
And
huko
you
nje
don't
excavator.
even have an eviction
man.
notice.
Oh man. We hope there's be justice which will be served here.
Maybe
But
quoting Gachagua, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, the Ruto administration will have zero tolerance to inhumane eviction like it happened before.
Right.
That is what he said, and that will not happen in his term as president. He
Zero
even
tolerance
said that.
indeed. Zero tolerance indeed.
Yes.
All
Zero
right.
tolerance in inhumane eviction.
And if you've
Probably
noticed-
that was not inhumane. What we have seen is not inhumane.
So,
And if you've noticed, none of them has spoken about it so far.
right.
None of them has spoken about it so far.
Okay.
And this just adds to their long list that's getting exhausting,
All right.
if I'm being honest.
Read for yourself there. Then let's get to the Daily Nation a bit and see what the priorities is here. NMS, the Nairobi Metropolitan Services. The Daily Nation here says NMS ghosts come for Uhuru's allies. House team calls for forensic audit of Nairobi Metropolitan Services. Operations here being questioned amid over tendering for city hospitals. Auditor General flagged several irregularities, and they've mentioned here people who've been summoned, including Kenothia Mbugwa, Susan I like it when they put the names of these
I
people.
know,
Yeah?
it's-
It's important we name and shame in case there's need for shame. Kenothia Mbugwa, Susan Mochache,
Yeah.
Richard Ngatia, and Richard Ngatia was supposed to vie for
The gubernatorial seat of Nairobi.
all right, so Dr. Gitai Githinji, and then they've shown here Uhuru Kenyatta and the NMS head from back then. Question number one is, let me just maybe get it from Ruth. This probe shows, the dysfunction that was there in some of these city hall activities by the Nairobi Metropolitan Service.
Yeah, apparently it's
Are you shocked, first of all? Are you shocked
in
at all?
Kenya, nothing shocks you anymore.
Okay.
Nothing,
Fair.
especially if it's anything about money scandals, nothing shocks you anymore. Right now, I can tell you, Richard, that we have cases in courts, uncountable cases in courts from government officials that have squandered money. And we'll also see in the nation that the NYS scandal, they were let off. So this one is just going to be another one. They are going to be let off. It's not surprising.
Or they're going to vie
anymore.
for gubernatorial seats.
And then they're going to get the seats.
Maybe
Yes.
to mention, they are being probed by the National Assembly
Oversight Committee.
Oversight
Yeah.
Committee that is led by nominated MP John Buddy, who comes from the opposition, and Uhuru was supported an opposition candidate. Does that say that there is war between in the opposition, or is he just doing his oversight role? He talks about that. As per the report of the Auditor General, they left a 14.8 billion unpaid debt that triggered these inquests, and that's why they want to probe and understand where these tenders legally or illegally given,
Right.
because that is quite a huge bill. But what stand is, if you go to on site, those hospitals are there.
Yeah,
They
there
are
and
operational. They are helping Wanjiru. But we must also question if there were irregularities in awarding tenders.
There are
Actually,
there are
there are
incomplete.
some that are
incomplete,
incomplete,
yes.
because I can see. I don't know if it's Madare or there's a hospital that is 15% complete. It's not yet complete. And the funny thing about this particular story here is that the tender was given to Amref. Now tell me, Richard, in what contract someone is given? I mean, a company is given 100%. Everything without even starting the job. Where does that
By the
happen?
county government, they've
By the-
already paid.
when this contract was being awarded, Amref was given 100%
Down payment.
down payment, 100% down payment. Let's just say full payment. They were given 100% down payment, and that's one of the questions that the committee is asking. Why was this different? Why was this special? Why did you have to give them 100%? Well, there are some laws that state you have to at least get maybe 50, 75, but why 100%? And then you're telling us there are some bills that are pending.
Right.
Why
And
is this happening?
Rarida Member of Parliament Otiende Amolo is quoted also wondering and questions on why some of the projects are ongoing after the contract expired. It's past 90 days, but bado kuna watu wanaendelea kazi, wanatuma
Yeah,
invoices.
and there was no letter of extension. And the funny thing is that they're asking for more funding to complete the projects.
This is
And you
crazy.
guys were paid. Like, we paid you the full amount. And the sad thing, Richard, is that this falls on the common mwananchi because you promised us hospitals. These hospitals are not complete. These hospitals maybe are lacking some facilities. And I'm still paying my tax. Don't forget. Now this time around, by the way.
Right.
I'm still paying my tax, and then you're still asking for more money after we paid you the whole amount.
Right.
Which is why I'm telling you, nowadays, cases like this don't surprise us. We're just like,
You can't be shocked. NMS, just maybe to put it into perspective or into context for someone who's just learning of this, NMS, the Nairobi Metropolitan Service, was it really a service at this point? Questions you can think about. It was established in March 2020 after former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko handed over 4 county functions: health, transport, public works, and ancillary services, as well as county planning for the government to the national government, which was then, of course, given to the Lieutenant General Mohammed Badi, who was then appointed by Mr. Former President, His Excellency Kenyatta. I wonder why the Daily Nation calls him Mr. Kenyatta. Come on, guys. Mr. President. But what do you think this informs of Uhuru's appointments towards the end? There was a lot of questions even on expenditure. I know, Kimani, you've had a look at those spending bills. There was also a question of what the who approved the expenditure between, I think, February and September of last year before the elections. Was there a rush in looting at the very end, Kimani?
Thank you very much. If you look at the entire story, and this is Kenya, you just know that if the probe is done, it has triggered some things. It is political witch hunt. Now by the opposition reaching to Uhuru. Yes, there were irregularities. But you look at the members of the committee. And we know in Kenya, we don't have justice is Justin and no longer justice. It is not even to the highest bidder, but to the highest interested party. Yes, we cannot deny. It will only be foolish to deny that resources were were misappropriated. But the question is, why today? Why are we having it today? Probably, and even in the headlines, probably being when there is a political angle I want to introduce this topic to. Who is chasing who? The people who have been mentioned are former controller of State House. We have former gubernatorial aspirant, Nairobi, and who also served as the Kenya National Chambers of Commerce and Industry chairperson or president. The names mentioned here tells you something, that even though resources were spent and there were misappropriation of resources, of which people still see that NMS was just a way of swindling resources, then the timing should tell us something.
Okay.
When bilateral talks are continuing, when Ruto made Rigi said that he's reaching out to Uhuru, when the president in Kisumu, the backyard of this Badi and Radienda MP, says that Uhuru did a marvelous job in building MV Uhuru too. I want to introduce the political angle in this.
Right.
Why? Because in Kenya, as I said, things are only persecuted if they are political. That is
a very good question to ask, actually, including what the Standard there had asked at the last of those land evictions. What informs the recent orders? I think it's also a question that we can ask here, even if we are also following up on misappropriation, but also what informs these recent orders. Read on it. NMS ghosts come for Uhuru's allies, page 4 and page 5. I think we could stick with Uhuru for a moment there and take a look at the Standard, the new UHC rollout plan. When I was preparing for this show yesterday and had a look at the universal health coverage, I was I breathed a sigh of relief. Nikasema, finally maybe something positive to speak about. Yeah. Do you? I don't think you're. I don't think you don't look like you approve it that much. Universal health coverage. It's a rollout plan by the government, taking community health workers all the way to the grassroots level, going door to door. They launched I think 2 weeks ago 100,000 medical kits, and then they're also going to send out 100,000 of these medical officers. And on Friday, it's going to be finally launched. This was Uhuru's plan, right? This was Uhuru's, supposed to be Uhuru's legacy, but President William Ruto is taking it on.
It was, and after it was launched in one of the counties, I don't know if it was the short term, akatoka akaenda and then ikabaki hanging pale, but I think it's a good one. If done right, this is going to help a lot, because if you look right now, the Kenya Kwanza government has tabled, I think almost all of them have been passed by Parliament for health bills. We have the infrastructure bill. I can't get the name right, but it's something about capacitation of hospitals. We have social health insurance fund. This one is supposed to take over NHIF. We have community. There are 4 bills, and if the universal health coverage plan is going to, which is going to include these 4 bills, is going to be done in a correct way, in an honest way, and in a not looting way. I think this is going to be a game changer in our health when it comes to our country. Because if you look at one of the primary healthcare bill, this one speaks of community health workers working from pale chini. We have a few community health workers wakitembea kule ushago, going door by door, looking at pressure, looking at blood sugar. This means that some of these chronic diseases will be discovered at an earlier age, and it will reduce the fatalities to konazo when it comes to cancer, diabetes, and all this. If you look at the social health insurance fund, although imekuwa na a lot of controversy, if you look at it, it's also a nice way of trying and revitalizing our health sector. Right. So for me, I think it's going to work if done right.
All right. I've actually found those bills. Maybe just let me mention them real quick. This universal health coverage bills is the primary healthcare bill, facility improvement financing bill, digital health bill, and then the social health insurance bill that you've mentioned there. In the social health insurance bill, the regulations are saying that it's going to be capped at 2.7% and a minimum of 300 Kenyan shillings, a maximum of 5,000 Kenyan shillings. Hopefully, this also contributes to improvement of financing towards healthcare. I commend it. I'm really excited by universal health coverage. I think on this show, for so many episodes, we've been pushing towards, taking a look at some of these services which can be availed to mwananchi on a universal basis and a free or affordable level. Let's not forget what you said there. It needs to be honest in how they're doing it. The Ministry of Health was awarded 150 billion Kenyan shillings, and 18 billion of it is going towards this. So I think if there's anyone who wants to keep an eye out on this, so that 3 months later we don't get to read a new story here. UHC ghosts come for Ruto's allies.
And maybe if I mention one of the bills there, Richard, the digital health bill. This is a very nice bill. I remember I was the one who handled that story when it was in Senate up for debate. And the bill is all about, you see how you carry papers, documents going from hospital to hospital. Now you don't have to do that. Like if they send you for an X-ray in Nairobi, Kericho, they just send your details. You just have to take yourself
tembea na kaki kubwa hivi.
Tembea na zile bahasha kubwa hivi. But also, I think mentioning that, I wanted to look at the issue of privacy. That was the one big animal in the room. The issue of privacy. How safe is the data of Kenyans? How safe am I? How safe is my status?
I wouldn't be so confident, Ruth. Ukikumbuka, I think it's 2 or 3 months ago tulihakiwa eCitizen, M-Pesa,
I wouldn't be so confident.
Good question.
So I think as much as we are trying to, revitalize our health sector and making this big animal steps. There are some things we also have to, put in consideration. Yeah.
And payment, because here on page 8 of the Standard, they are showing health union workers who are holding a peaceful demonstration at the Ministry of Health. It's so I like what the editor did on this page, right?
Standard does this.
Yeah, it's a positive story on universal health coverage, but the main image is of health workers protesting.
It's like they're trying to remind them as you do this, please remember to pay us.
Yes. Usiende mbele na umesahau huko mali umetoka.
I think to begin with, better bottom-up transformation agenda is really being achieved here, where we'll have I think 100,000 people employed. But I still have some questions. One, in the parliament, they have something we are calling about tyranny of numbers. The way this bill came, they have not been amended. Some of the suggestions are all the employees of NHIF will have to be rendered jobless. Will need to apply again.
Oh wow!
And I listened to the Senate's Nairobi senator saying that he tried to make that an amendment, but calls were being made from higher offices such that it passes the way it is. And that tells you that very soon we'll have another headline in one of our dailies talking about the ghost of who comes to haunt whose friend.
In this coverage.
Yes,
as well.
because the parliament should be a place where our minds, the people who we elected to do oversight and also registrations, have the freedom to change and amend these bills as they see and deem it fit to help Wanjiru. And Wanjiru, who is here now referred to in this government, Mama Mboga. When these bills are taken to parliament and they are passed without amendment, even a full stop, it triggers questions about interest. Because some of the suggestions talk about even the capping. These are things that are going to affect Wanjiru. I believe that these MPs should have a say in it because they are our direct representative. The senators should also have a say in saying that we can make it maybe 3.5 or 1.5 because they are the people who interact daily to daily with the people. When this bill was made, it was made by the ministry. I know they hired some consultants. So Wanjiru was never involved. The only way Wanjiru can be felt if when these bills are being discussed in parliament, we don't bring tyrannies of numbers where the opposition is told to bring alternatives, and when they do so, they are told that some of the MPs are saying, read the questions so that we can vote. We need to hear these discussions. Like I remember in the previous government, we used to have very good discussions, and people who love politics and will follow the Senate and the National Assembly, you will hear Kenyans' minds, Kenyans' thought on issues.
Now we have members of parliament who go to just sleep and
Rubber stamp.
and just rubber stamp whatever the executive has to say.
But I also wish to congratulate the government. If they are able to implement this program, it's going to be beneficial to Wanjiru. But my question, my prayer will be, one, mental health. Last month was a mental health month. Let it be included to be one of the things that can be treated by these UHC. Secondly, about and the government, the president and the deputies can be quoted saying that that we lose families are going to poverty because of illnesses. Let us make it, and people, we know we are Kenyans. Whenever a member of my family gets sick, that is the time we will enroll. One of the things that I know we had sent, some of our representatives, that is Nkusa, had sent in the bill was we had requested that it is made mandatory that anybody who is employed, either public or private, should be cut something should be taken directly from the source before getting the salary sent to go there, because we cannot have a nation that one of the major problems that NHIF faces today is that people will only want to contribute when they have somebody who is sick. And the question, the principle of insurance is we pool
all contribute and then
resources so that we can help one in need.
And also, I think the biggest problem with NHIF was I'm contributing every month, but I go to a hospital and they tell me, nah, you are entitled to only this amount of money. So I'm hoping in the new insurance fund, they are going to extend the coverage to make sure that at least I'm not contributing for nothing. I've had cases where you've contributed, then you get sick, you go to hospital and they tell you, no, we can only give you this much.
Someone brought it up on social media and said, swali ilikuwa, what exactly then does NHIF cover if they don't cover this? Wanasema wana cover macho. Once they see you wana cover macho, they're not going to cover any of your illnesses.
Yeah, that's true.
But hopefully it extends also, because this month is one mental health awareness month. So it's good that you brought that up. They should be thinking forward that way. Also, it's cancer awareness month. So it's important that we also have this kind of discussion around health in this month.
And when we say universal, so it should cover everything.
Everything,
Or maybe if the government has changed the meaning of universal, they should tell us.
Yeah, all right. That is a story that you can read for yourself there on the Daily Nation. Guys, I want us to take a look at two stories, and then nyinyi mtanibringia some of yours there. I had one interesting one, which is fuel. Let's begin there. From the calculations that I have seen here, Super Petrol has been increased by 8 shillings over the weekend, diesel by 16, kerosene by 12. The government has resolved to cushion consumers through a stabilization mechanism to be funded by the Petroleum Development Levy, in line with the Petroleum Development Levy Order of 2020. I want to also tie this with the visit that President William Ruto is doing in China. President William Ruto is one scouting for public-private partnerships in his Chinese tour. So he's asked for Huawei and any other digital players to come through and improve our infrastructure in ICT, and others who want to tap into energy. He says we have a lot of renewable energy potential. I think 60 megawatts of solar energy untapped, or gigawatts, sorry, and 20 to 30 of hydropower, which is untapped, and he's asking that Chinese investors come through. So far, all I know is that majority of Safaricom's infrastructure is already run by Huawei. So I'm not so sure who is asking to come and help us through here. So it reminds me of the deal that we inked. I think you were here on this show when we were speaking about the Gulf energy deal.
Yeah.
500 billion Kenyan shillings on a country-to-country deal that was supposed to help us bring down the cost of fuel. So why is that not happening? Who is benefiting from 500 billion Kenyan shillings that was given? And you have to remember that a few years back, 500 billion, which is half a trillion, was at some point Kenya's budget, right?
Yeah, that's true.
For a year. So 500 billion Kenyan shillings, Gulf Energy Company. Whoever owns that is something that you can get to Google for yourself and find out. But now we have a situation where the price of fuel is going up every single month. And when it drops on the international market, we have never seen a revision, backwards. Hatujaiona price imepungua.
And I think Kuria was right then. We crucified him for nothing.
Said someone for the first time.
Crucified him for nothing. Because Kuria told us, starting this month, hadi February, mafuta inapanda na shilingi 10 kila mwezi. And when April released their reviews, what was shocking to me was the fact that wanasema kuna subsidy. You guys are telling me there is a subsidy.
There's a subsidy na unaumia bado.
There's a subsidy. And so according to the report, I think without the subsidy, petrol would have risen, I think, by 8 shillings.
Yes.
And kerosene,
by 16.
I think by 16. And then we have diesel.
Sorry, kerosene by 12, diesel by 16.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I want to ask, ni ukweli kuna hii subsidy? Ama you guys are just saying there's a subsidy just for the sake of saying there's a subsidy?
They're calling it the Petroleum Development Levy. It's a new word.
But I will say,
and you're trying to cushion me. Just a minute. You're trying to cushion me from this, and I have you on record telling me that hawa watu na taxes zao za mafuta hawajui kenye mwananchi anapitia na hizi taxes za mafuta tutapunguza. But now I'd love a government that explains to me this is why the fuel of price is going up. You guys, unyali tuambia it was because of Russia and Ukraine war. You guys came apana si Russia na Ukraine.
Huyo anatudanganya sisi tuingie tu change.
Maybe ni juu ya vita ya Israel na
Hamas. Labda.
Oil haitoki huko.
Maybe
exactly.
No ni vita. Maybe the elephant in the room about fuel, and this is what a lot of politicians are afraid to say, is IMF. The running cost of fuel in Mombasa port is way above. It's just 100 shillings and above. I think 100 to 120. But the fuel levies that we have introduced are the ones that are
The taxes on top of that landing
yes,
cost.
that is what affects the nation. Who determines these taxes? The parliament. But then that means that our parliament is not independent. It is just a mouthpiece of IMF, not an extension. And the mouthpiece.
Not even the executive. Umeruka all the way, umesema
mouthpiece
all the way to IMF and World
of
Bank.
IMF. Because Kenyans need to be cautioned. We have invested billions in the fertilizer subsidy program. It's when you go to plant maize, remember that land was tilled using a tractor that used fuel. We are going to dry those maize when harvested using fuel.
Machines which use fuel.
We are going to transport that maize to the Kisiagi using fuel. And that unga is going to be brought back to Wanjiru using fuel. Remember that when we are going to pay the one who is going to do that, because of the ripple effect of fuel today, we are going to increase his salary. So we have invested billions in subsidizing production, but its ripple effect, the ripple effect of fuel prices today is outweighing that subsidy. So it becomes irrelevant and a waste of government resources. What I'm saying is we need to have a conversation with IMF, face them head on and tell them that, yes, we know we have your loans, but the way we are headed, you want us to go to bankruptcy, or you want us to be said that we are unable to pay these loans.
Yeah, because I think it's like we are taking a step forward and 2 steps backward.
Right.
I did a story on I don't know if it was Baringo somewhere. I don't remember quite well, but they were crying that they've done their harvest of maize, but now the maize inaozea kule kwa nini,
Because they
inaozea
Kwa
kule
granary huko.
kwa store. Why? Because we don't have people to sell this to. Now what they forget is fuel determines the price of everything. Yes, you'll subsidize production and then tuta harvest and we do all this, but ile kisiagiko pale ushago mtu anatumia mafuta. Ile gari unabeba nayo unaletea watu huku inatumia mafuta. So as much as we've subsidized, we've tried to help us have a bumpy harvest, when the product is getting to the consumer, it's already hiked. Because I as a farmer nishauza mahindi yangu. Mimi mwenye nimenunua, I as a buyer mwenye nishanunua mahindi, trust me, I've bought the maize, I've used transport, I've used fuel for transport. Why should I put it at a lower price for you when I'm paying the price?
Now we're back to where we started.
It's like we are back to where we started. Yes, we don't want to subsidize consumption. We want to subsidize production. But are you putting in mind the ripple effect that this is having? I like when we had the 8% VAT. We weren't crying this much. Hatuko tunalia hivi.
Right. Actually, the biggest burden on this fuel price is the taxes which are on top.
Yeah, it's the
which
taxes.
Are between, I think, ni kama 17 of them.
Yes, I would call the president and tell him that, Mr. President, you have broken various promises that you said to Wanjiru. Break that promise about subsidy. Subsidize consumption of fuel. I know it is difficult to make that decision, but we have seen on previous accounts, you have broken promises about unga, about land, evictions and stuff. Kindly work on subsidizing fuel, but instead, I have a better solution. Work on the taxes on this fuel.
Okay.
Remove them from fuel, take them to other products that are not, take them on alcohol, take them on things that are luxurious. And to join that, he's in China.
Right. That's why I wanted us to head to also. Yes.
He's in China.
President is in China.
We were told that a state government should work. I remember that joke of CS should go, Bosses Korea should go with just one person.
Just one other person.
No PAs. We have seen that these deals, MOUs, were signed by various PSs. Is he an exception or not?
Right. Our question is who watches the watchman? Yeah. So President William Ruto is saying that government officials shouldn't travel a lot. They should travel with this limited number of people. But who's checking on him? Who's going to keep a cap on his travel?
That's still a question.
Maybe to answer the question, the constitution is very clear. When we elect MPs, and that is why I always have issues with CDF, the constitutional rule is oversight.
Oversight of the government.
When we go to the Senate, they are also oversights of the county government. So
they should be the ones watching.
They should be the watchman of the
president.
The
watchman of the watchman.
Right?
Right.
But unfortunately, today, the watchman of the watchman, the president is the watchman of the watchman. Instead of the other way around.
That's a funny one.
Alright, umeleta uchi umemweka kwa gate lakini wewe ndo unamchunga na binoculars bado.
Yes.
Ya kuchunga.
When you are in your house, in your bedroom, the watchman is sleeping, so you are the one who is in charge.
Who's taking care of him?
Because
MPs are sleeping in parliament, honestly speaking.
yes, and they are taking orders from from the employer who should be being watched.
Right, that's true, that's correct. But now, away from, of course, the travel details, we all agree that we're not happy with all these travels. The president has been moving from the west, as in Africa, a Pan-Africanist, on the western front, anaongelesha the UN, reparations, nini, but he's also in the east. It seems he does not have an allegiance. Is
He's
he
still looking.
Is he still a darling of the west? Kimani kwanza wewe ndio ushinda ukimwita darling of the west.
I'll say this.
He's in China now, he's a man of all people.
Damage control, my friend. Damage control. I think the president has, even the reason why he's going to Haiti, positioned himself as a Pan-Africanist. And Pan-Africanists are neither supporters of the West or the East. They are talking about the African, they support Africans. And that's why we are seeing him saying so much vocal about Haiti. And as we'll say, it's because of the resources that come with it, but I think because of his positioning himself as a Pan-Africanist.
Right.
But at the same time, we must look at how many, the loan he's going to come back with from China.
Right.
Because every time, what lingers in Kenya's mind is, every time we go to China, when we are signing these deals,
Lazima tupewe
there
loan.
comes with there is something that is going to
Yeah,
come
and
back.
remember there's a government that said they are going to curb the amount of loans. I don't know if it's in the standard of the nation. There's a story I saw about they are raising issues about how the loans are taken and how much Kenyans have to pay. I don't remember kama ilikuwa standard ama in nation. How much Kenyans have to pay. They're saying that there are some hidden fees pale ndani kwa hizi laws that comes with the state loans that maybe are making us pay for something we don't know. Unaambiwa this is the amount of money we are paying, but inside hidden kule there are few clauses that just make it hike.
It's high time we have this in the public arena where a deal ikishafanywa between the president and it regards all our taxes. I think this is information we should be having. How much is it? It's something that should access on a public portal.
Access to information is a constitutional right. It is a right given in the constitution. So I will also support that proposal that we should have all these contracts, and we have promised to have some of them made public about.
You're still waiting for CS Korea to do that and more comment. It'll take some time,
but I would also urge, as a Kenyan who understand economy, though I'm an engineer, would recommend that the government, if they have to borrow, let them borrow outside, not inside.
Okay.
We have a problem where we are borrowing from our local banks, and these local banks would want to give money to the government compared to Wanjiru or Mama Mboga.
Right, and therefore there's less money going to the people and more going to the government,
so
which is still looting. And then
I would recommend the government, if they have to borrow, they can also consider we have gone to the west and the east. They should go to the north or the south.
Right. Okay.
So that we are left in the middle instead of borrowing locally.
Okay. Also, the president, while he's in China, actually, just to put it into context, he's there not just really on a tour, but an invite by President Xi Jinping, who is invited actually just 3 African countries, and they are hosting the Third Belt and Road Forum, which is a celebration of the 10 years that the president of China brought these strategies of infrastructure all across the world, and also to their economic interest. One thing I have to agree is, let's borrow outside, but let's encourage investment from our own people. So the president is asking for Chinese investors to come through and create public-private partnerships, but I think we should get money outside and ask Kimani, ask Ruth, ask me to innovate something, and then tap into these loans. And I think that will get us more money into the economy. But I am just a normal mwananchi. Public participation is not really a thing that is taken seriously in this current regime, but hopefully sometime soon. Anything else, guys? I think time pia inatukimbiza sana. We've but
I think I'd want us to look at the JSS.
Yes.
The JSS, you know, how it has been going. And in The Nation, page 7, you can see the lack of funds.
Right.
Is the elephant in the room, you know. And by now, about 14.7 billion has been poured out to make sure that GSS works correctly, to make sure that these students have labs, to make sure that, you know, learning is continuing. But right now, we are still faced with lack of teachers. We're still faced with the lack of labs. In some schools, literally no learning is going on. You find schools that wanafaa kuwa na lab practice uko, they don't have. What do they do? That's a free lesson. That's a free lesson. Unajua mtoto akisikia free lesson anafurahia,
but haoni what the problem
only
is.
where the problem is. And it's so sad that we still have this a year later, no, almost a year later, because next year the 2024 cohort is coming in, and you still have a lot of loopholes pale ndani, and no one is talking about it. No
Lack
one
of
is talking.
funds,
Lack of funds,
infrastructure.
lack of teachers, infrastructure. I remember when JSS, when the first cohort was joining, that was, I think, in 31st January. We did a feature here on JSS, and by then the school we went with, the public school that we went to, they still had problems with teachers. And the problem is, like, mpaka saa hizi, these people are still going through the same problems. Where is 14.7 billion going? If you're telling me that you've poured all this money in there, maybe the question should be, is this something that maybe needs a second look? Is this something that needs to be looked at again, and maybe try and decide if this is the right time to continue with this before the next cohort comes in?
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of loopholes here in the CBC, and the task force actually brought it into light. The Presidential Task Force on Education Reforms, the Working Party on Education Reforms, including that lack of training for teachers who are supposed to handle these kids. And I saw a teacher who's doing private tuition for these students saying they can no longer even handle private tuition because they are not aware of how this system is looking like. And this is a lot of money, guys. We've been mentioning figures here that we are normalizing. We're normalizing mentioning billions, 14 billion, mepotea, 13
Maybe even before we go to
billion.
maybe even before we go to the figures today, we knew, and the greatest failure of our nation that has led us to be in the mess we are in today is failure to plan, which is itself as a failure. We knew that when we introduced CBC, we knew that we needed to have teachers, we needed to have laboratories, we needed to have everything that we're talking about here, or my co-panelist is talking about here. If we have planned better and we have planned properly, we will not be facing these challenges. So the greatest challenge as a nation we have faced since independent to today is sometimes it has been a ministry or a state department of planning. It fails to plan about the future. For even going away from JSSC, when these students will be going next year, they will be joining. Some of them will be joining junior, senior secondary. We need to plan for them today so that we don't have the same challenges tomorrow. When somebody joins university, comes to pursue engineering KU, we need to have that database and know that 4 years from today, 5 years from today, we are going to have a graduate who needs to be employed. So that's why I say that the greatest failure of our nation since independence till today is the State Department of Planning. They are just there getting salaries, doing nothing.
Right.
And I think, Richard, we are going back to the age where education used to be for the ones who have, because go to private schools, these kids are learning. A kid will make something for you and you're like, CBC did this. You know, go to private schools, they are learning how to save, they are learning how to innovate. And then we have our children in public schools
swimming in sacks.
Swimming in sacks, not now finding the teachers don't understand demolitions in Athi
The
River.
teachers, in fact, don't understand what this is about. And I remember there was a plan on training teachers. I don't know how that went, but there was a plan on training teachers about this. But the problem is you find that public schools are very, very, very capacitated. You'll find that the students are too many. In a class of 100 students, there's only one teacher handling all the subjects. Remember the subjects before they were dropped to 8. They were about I think 12 subjects. You can imagine a teacher handling 8 subjects. Uko peke yako, wewe ndo hesabu, wewe ndo English, wewe ndo Kiingereza, wewe ndo PE, wewe sijui ndo nini.
For a classroom full of hygiene.
Classroom hygiene.
They introduce new things.
You're a female teacher. You're supposed to teach a male child on hygiene, on personal hygiene.
Now you have hundreds of them.
You have hundreds of them. I think the Ministry of Education should give a second look to this, maybe before the next
serious
comes in. And a serious one, because the problem with our government has always been implementation. We have these big steps, you have these big dreams, but when it comes to implementing them, I don't know where the devil comes in. I don't know where the devil comes in.
That's a good question to ask Kenyans. Where does the devil come in? A religious state.
My friend,
you have a lot of issues.
My friend called Peter Chege from Ikinu, who is in USA, is telling me that we need to rethink about the entire planning of the nation, because that is where we have failed. And I'm also told to say hi by Mwangi, who was here last week, and he's telling me that I should remind you that he has invited you to attend Mkusa Mega Steve Chege Day that is going to be happening in Nanyuki, in Nyahururu. It is going to be a 3-day event that has cleanup, medical checkup, and a memorial service remembering the founder of Mkusa. He's the executive director of Mkusa, and he's inviting you and all comrades and also all comrades and residents of Laikipia County.
Okay, guys, time is not on our side. Engineer Maish ataniua if I continue so much. So let's just get our final remarks in. There's a lot we could speak about. I had prepared, speaking of watchmen, I was going to talk about the DCI and their fake gold runs for the past 3 or so weeks. Every week there's something with fake gold in hundreds of millions, some including senators, some including ex-MP aspirants. But another day, we'll get the time. You are very tempted, Kimani, to say something. I'll allow you that to be your last remark, whatever you want to tell us there. Also, because you're a man of many quotes, you will give us your own quote, and then I'll have Ruth read this quote at the back of the Business Daily when the time comes. In the meantime, just let me give a shout out to the people who've been tuning into this session. Sami Weru tuned in from Kabete. Show iko fine, so much motivation. This man is wise. This is grand wins. Anasema, I think has to be you. Ama ni mimi? Oh, okay. Yeah, could be me too. Thank you, grand wins. Paul Kariuki, very wise man. Kimani Wachira. That's a great, of course, great statements that you're giving here. Tabasamu Wachira. Is it what I think it is?
Tabasamu Wachira is a brand name, but she's my sister.
Okay. I thought it's, anyway, tuned in. Anasema Kimani Wachira to the world. You have to make it clear here.
Yes.
All right, guys, let's get in our final remarks. Let me start with Wachira. Utupatie remark yako, utupatie quote, alafu tumalize na Ruth.
Thank you very much. I want to talk about, yesterday we had a game, Kenya and Russia. I think it went toward 2-2. That is Harambee Stars and Russia.
Yes.
I want to congratulate our boys.
Yes.
But I was hoping that they would have won the game, because it would have been good saying that Kenya beat Russia.
Yes, true.
Yeah,
and in today's cartoon, the editorial made a very good cartoon of a tanker, the standard, of a tanker that has at the muzzle, it has the Russia as a country, and he's talking, and the president, who is the commander, who is driving that, commandeering that tanker, is talking about calling Palestinian and Israel side to implement immediate ceasefire, whereas they are having wars in Ukraine.
That's hilarious.
They did a very good cartoon. Maybe as I conclude, I want to thank you for hosting us, and also tell our youths that tujitume, form ni kujituma. We are saying that there is nothing for us without us. As we continue engaging, tujitume, tusisahau kwamba if we don't work smart, people are working out here hard and they are going home with nothing. I will end today's debate with a quote that if you put a pastor and a prostitute in one room, one is going to change the other. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh man. Oh, wow. How do I top that? Anyway, Ruth, your final remarks and then the quote at the back of the Business Daily. Also, because we've been very, I like that he's been positive at the end, tujitume. I feel like we've touched on very contentious issues here. Alafu ni sensational kidogo, ni very sensitive. So, end it on a positive note here. Alafu ndo tusome quotes.
So mine would be to tell guys out there, take care of your mental health. It's important. As much as we are going through, the surge of the high cost of living, the highs and downs of tribulations and all that, take care of your mental health. It's important. It always has been. That is what builds you and breaks you. Yeah.
All right. The quote at the back of the Business Daily, I think it's by Steve Jobs.
Yeah, by Steve Jobs.
Okay.
You cannot mandate productivity. You must provide the tools to let people become their best.
All right, let's get it again.
You cannot mandate productivity. You have to provide the tools to let people become their best.
All right. Thank you very much, Ruth and Kimani, for creating time. You can get to see more of Ruth at KUTV Newsroom. But you should tune in to 6:30 p.m. Zizi Habari, 9 p.m. Primetime News. And sometimes she makes cameos here and there on entertainment shows like that is Top in Africa on Fridays. So sometimes she's a fun person, sometimes she's a serious person. And Kimani Wachira, of course, our resident political analyst. Asante sana, guys, for creating time here. That's a wrap for us here, but the laughter lingers on. Remember, laughter is the best business strategy. Continue to laugh, continue to love, and continue to get your profits higher. Thank you for tuning in to KUTV Rise today. This is the best morning breakfast television show on your screens. Every Tuesday morning, we come with Biashara Tuesday, but preceded, of course, before by Karen Blessing on Art and Culture Monday, a very fun time. And then let's meet again next Tuesday and repeat this. I will see you on social platforms at Richard_OKenye. That's where you get me at. Tag the station as well at KUTV Kenya. May your jokes be higher, but your profits even way higher. I'll see you around.